Welcome to The Explainer. We're all about taking complex ideas and turning them into clear, visual journeys, just like this one.
So, let's start with a big question. What if the future could send us warnings? Now, this isn't science fiction. We're going to dive into this idea through the lens of Islamic belief about the end times, or what's known as eschatology, based on our source material for today.
All right, so where do we even begin? Well, our journey starts with a really core concept, a central mystery, actually, the absolute secrecy around what's called the final hour.
So this term, as-sa'a, or the hour, it's not just about, the world ending in some big cataclysm. It's way deeper than that. According to our source, you should think of it more as a huge transition, a shift from this life to a state of ultimate divine justice, where every single action is finally weighed and accounted for.
And here's the thing. The Quran is super clear on this point. The knowledge of when the hour will happen, it's with God, and with God alone. Not the prophets, not even the highest angels, nobody else knows. Which of course raises a huge question, right? If you have no idea when it's coming, how on earth are you supposed to prepare for it?
Well, the answer to that question is pretty fascinating. While the exact timing is a total secret, the approach of the hour, well, that's a different story. Our text explains that its coming is announced by a whole series of events and prophecies known as the signs.
Okay, so these signs aren't all created equal. They're actually split into two big categories, and our source material gives us a perfect way to think about it. The minor signs, they're like those little, subtle tremors you feel before a massive earthquake. They're warnings. But the major signs? Yeah, that's the earthquake itself.
So let's start with those first tremors, the minor signs. These are described as gradual changes that affect the historical, social, and even the moral fabric of the entire world.
What's really interesting here is that this whole narrative is rooted in actual history. The source points to several signs that believers see as having already come to pass. So for them, this isn't just some distant future prophecy. It's a story that's been playing out for centuries.
From there, the text starts to group other signs by theme, and you'll see how some of these might ring a bell. You've got these huge economic and structural shifts, things like massive wealth being piled up, and interest-based loans, or usury, becoming totally normal. Then there's this really visual one, people competing to build taller and taller buildings, almost like a race to the sky. And all of this is happening while, according to the prophecy, unworthy people find themselves in positions of power, suggesting a society's foundations are getting a little shaky.
So that's the structural stuff. But then you have the other side of the coin, major shifts in society and morals. The source talks about religious knowledge fading away while ignorance and violence are on the rise. And then you get these really specific, almost cryptic prophecies. For example, women being clothed yet naked. This is often taken to mean clothing that, well, covers the body but doesn't really conceal anything. And then there's this one, a slave woman giving birth to her mistress. People have interpreted that in all sorts of ways, from children becoming completely disrespectful to their parents to a total flip of the entire social hierarchy.
Okay, we've talked about the tremors. Now, it's time for the earthquake itself. We're moving on to the major signs. And these are a completely different ballgame. They aren't slow, gradual changes. Our source describes them as huge, world-altering, supernatural events that happen one right after the other. Bang, bang, bang. Like beads scattering from a string that just snapped.
And the second that first major sign appears, that's it. The final countdown has truly begun, and there's no turning back.
And what a sequence it is. The source lays out this incredibly dramatic cascade. It kicks off with a mysterious smoke that will blanket the entire earth. Then a figure known as the Dajjal, a great deceiver, appears. After that comes the beast from the earth. It's right around then that Jesus is prophesied to descend, followed by the release of Gog and Magog. And it all leads up to this final, cosmic, mind-bending event, the sun rising from the west.
So, you hear all of that, and it begs a massive question, right? A question the source material itself wants us to ask. What's the point of all this? I mean, if this isn't just about giving people a schedule to predict the end of the world, why are these beliefs so important? Why do they matter?
And the answer, really, is that the purpose isn't about scaring people or turning them into fortune tellers. It's meant to be a constant, profound reminder. A reminder that our lives have a purpose, that our choices matter, and that in the end, there's a sense of divine justice and moral accountability for everything.
So the big takeaway from our source material is this. These incredible visions of the future, these warnings and signs, they're not really about the future at all. They're about how we choose to live right now, in the present. Which leaves us with a final thought to chew on. What does any story about the end truly teach us about our own beginning?